Good morning, and it's Monday again. How exciting! Monday, last week of November, I think it is, isn't it? Or frightening thought, really, because that means we're 3 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks away from Christmas, and then the end of the year, and off onto another year. Anyway, today, conventional wisdom. I'm returning to that for one more day. Conventional wisdom says that hiring managers always make the right decisions, which of course we all know is not the case. But I'll rephrase it slightly, and that is that the decisions that hiring managers make are the final decisions within a hiring process, and that's not quite the case either. Good morning, Angela. They really don't make the right decisions, but they can be led to making the right decisions if the whole process is managed correctly. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. So this is James Foster and Careers Matter. So hiring managers actually often, I'm looking at my notes down here if it looks like the side of my head, so apologies for that. So often don't actually see what a candidate has to offer on the first go through. Sometimes when you send a CV as a recruiter to a hiring manager, you have to have a second go at it, for example, because as much as you think you've brought out what it is that you want the hiring manager to see, they go through it themselves and think that their interpretation of the CV is better than ours, and they pass over on good candidates. So sometimes it's necessary, and if I'm delivering a candidate to a hiring manager, I like to, if I possibly can, do a one-on-one presentation. So if I'm going to deliver a short list of candidates, I like to be able to talk through each one of those candidates with the hiring manager, but that's not always possible. You sometimes have to do that in using email, and sometimes you don't get across what you really want to say on the email, so you have to have a second go at it. But the point I'm making here is that the hiring manager himself often doesn't see what there is there, and it's my job as a good recruiter to bring that out. Problem we've got today is that hiring managers are being kept as far away as possible from the recruiter, particularly if it's an external recruiter, but even the internal recruiters, there's very little interaction. The idea is the hiring manager's time is precious, which is true, of course it is, and they don't need to be wasting their time on giving this, giving that, but it's failing them because they're not getting the information that they need. What that means is that actually, if we can get you through as a candidate to interview, you've actually got to do the job yourself to some extent these days. And you have got to really make sure that that what is in your profile, what you have that offers real value to the organisation and to the hiring manager is abundantly obvious, and is presented in such a way that there's no room for doubt or error, and that comes from really fundamentally understanding what the problem is that you're looking to solve for that particular individual in the first place. So it's my job to make sure that you get through to an interview. Once you're in the interview, it's your job to make sure that you really sell it yourself and don't leave any room for error or doubt, and make sure that what you really need to get across is got across. Now, the the recruitment process is an interactive process. It's not just a present a CV, interview, done. If this is managed properly, and again, the recruitment process these days is very difficult to manage properly, but if it's managed properly, there is an interaction that then takes place, that it should be a proper one-on-one feedback from me to the hiring manager, to understand where the process, if you like, if it's a candidate rejection, why the candidate is being rejected, and that also gives me an opportunity at that particular time to understand if the hiring manager has misunderstood something, if it's not come across properly, and then to get that reiterated and to make sure that it's clear in front of them that the elements that they've missed. And believe me, I have turned clients around on this numerous times, or hiring managers around on this numerous times, when even after the first interview, when they've had their doubts, when they've had their concerns, when they've even been rejecting candidates, it has been possible for me to actually turn that round and to get them to take a second look and to invite back for an interview. And usually when that happens, the person gets the job because what was there in the first instance, which was missed, has now become much clearer to the hiring manager, and he then focuses on that particular element, understands that it is there in the profile of this particular individual, and that helps them to actually forge the relationship that they need to actually get through and across the line. I hope I've made that clear. The point being of all of this is that the recruitment process is actually quite a complex process. The hiring managers are not perfect in what they do, and that the idea should be within the recruitment process to bring the experience and the expertise of everybody within that process together in order for the company and the hiring manager and the candidates to all be able to make the right decisions. This is missing to a lot from recruitment today. It's missing because, as I already mentioned, companies want to streamline the recruitment process. They want to separate the recruiter from the hiring manager. They want to hold everything as far off as possible. But it doesn't serve them very well at all, because they are missing a lot of consultancy that can take place within the process to ensure that the right decision can come out. The converse of that is, of course, that there are a lot of recruiters in the process within the industry that are actually very shallow, shall we say, in the information that they actually provide. And they don't do a thorough job of actually qualifying the candidate. They don't really understand what the role is about in the first place. They are simply trying to match a few components of a CV to a few components of a job description, and hope that sticks and gets them a fee which they really probably haven't earned. And that's the battle that a good recruitment process has to overcome. It has to get to a point where there's a solid relationship between the hiring manager and the recruiter, and that they really do genuinely understand each other. And that does build up, and that can happen. And in a number of relationships I've had with hiring managers over the times, that has worked and has worked very well. Unfortunately, it doesn't work all the time, and some companies don't allow it to work, and so you find yourself in a process that's not really effective. The solution to that is, of course, that you just target those companies that are open to the idea, and that you just and good companies are. Good companies want to give feedback. Good companies are quite open to having an interaction, even if it's just an email interaction, provided that the value that's being passed in that interaction helps them to come to the right decision. Because good companies, good hiring managers know they don't always get it right, and they know that the recruitment process has got a lot of pitfalls, and they know that they are looking to try to get the right candidate into the job, not just any candidate in. They've got to get the person that's going to fit their organisation, that's going to fit their culture, as well as that can do the job, as well as that has the skills and experience needed, as well as can add the value and solve the problems that there are within that organisation. That's pretty much all I really want to cover today. It's not the subject's one of those subjects when we're talking about conventional wisdom, as it were, which is where we're dealing with the consensus within the industry, within companies and the way that they operate, and sometimes that's a difficult thing to manage, because because the recruitment process within organisations, they have reasons for the way that they're doing it, and often can't see the benefits and the values of doing it another way. And so as recruitment has become much more, I use the word commoditized, but much more functional, then some of the value that we can offer down that line has been reduced, and it's really up to us to build up that rapport with the company, with the hiring manager, and that can be achieved. But it's also up to you as a candidate to make sure that all the way through that process that you are also delivering on the value, or not delivering on, but communicating that value, showing what you are, that there's a consistency in the message that's coming across, that I say that you deliver this value, you go in and you talk about the value that you deliver, and that the hiring manager can see what that value is. So it is actually one of those things where everybody should be working towards the same goal, which is to make sure the right person gets hired for the job. So this is James Foster and Careers Matter. Speak again tomorrow.